Today, we are learning basketball with Tobias Bass, a basketball scout and analyst. You can see him on the grassroots scene, covering all the way through the NBA draft, breaking news, a live news editor with The Athletic. He's down in Houston, holding it down in Texas with some basketball down in the South over there. So shout out to Tobias. But before we break in to a little bit of the draft talk, a little bit of the grassroots scene, just wanted to dive into your process and your journey as a person in this basketball world. And first off, how are you doing today, Tobias?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
No doubt. So, I love hearing all these recruitment tidbits and just who's going where and all these news and all that. So, what's it like breaking into that world just as like a live news editor with The Athletic? What was your journey like getting to where you are in basketball?
So when I first started, I'm a Texas Tech alum, so I was there when they went to the Final Four. My journey was interesting. So to be honest with you, I didn't really want to be a scout. To be honest, I kind of wanted to be like I guess a talking head, kind of like a Stephen A. Smith on TV, sharing my crazy opinions every day. My biggest mentor, Ray Caldwell, he's literally one of the greatest women's developers ever. He's had 7, 8 McDonald's All-Americans. He probably has 10 plus gold medals, etc. His daughter was a top 100. Both of his daughters were top 100 recruits. Both played high major basketball, and he was the one that kind of pushed me to be a scout. I really gave him some pushback on it for a while, but he was like, you know what? He's like, Tobias, I'm going to send you to the Wood 150 camp in Dallas. It's a McDonald's All-American evaluation camp. If you like it, cool. If you don't, we'll never talk about this again. He got me a hotel and gave me a little bit of money to do it. So I said, all right, man, I'll go, whatever. When I went there, I just kind of felt like life made sense, if that makes sense. It made sense. Like I felt like this is what I want to do. This is kind of like my calling. And then just from there, I guess I was pressing the right buttons, was able to meet a bunch of different people. Definitely didn't do it by myself. And I've just honestly been blessed to just meet the people that I've met so far in my 29 years of being alive and just continue to grow from there.
No doubt. I mean, that's an awesome story. And what about being there drew it to you? I'm sure it sounds like kind of like it feels for anyone that really loves the game. Just it doesn't feel like work when you're showing up and getting to watch basketball, talk basketball, and really try to like evaluate players. And obviously there is a giant corporation, a lot of money around it, but it's still a game we all love to play and think about. So, what's that like?
I think what drew me in was just, you're seeing some of those guys, they're going to be pros, right? Some of them are going to be some of the better college guys we see. So, for example, at that camp, Brandon Miller was there, Nick Smith was there, Keontae George, Jordan Walsh, Kaysen Wallace was there. So they were really good. Well, these guys ended up becoming pros, but these were guys who were really good high school, college, and ended up eventually being NBA players that were there. So just being in the gym, being around them, just seeing it, for the first time or just not the first time, but just up close. I was like, yeah, I like evaluating these guys. And in the realm of what I wanted to do, they kind of mixed. You're still giving your opinions. You're still giving your analysis. It's just more focused on something specific. The guys are a little bit younger, but you know how it is. 2-3 years from now, they're going to be pros. Like, some of these dudes been in the NBA 3 years, they would still be in college today. So it's amazing how fast the jump is. From your senior year to your rookie year, it's 2 years. It goes by rather quickly. So just being in the gym, seeing that, I really just loved being in there and just watching them play.
Right. And it's cool to see that talent early on. Like it's something I've repeated on this pod a few times that like I probably over analyzed that one college season sample of like 30 games on the biggest stage before a lot of these guys get drafted. And it's still an important 30 games and probably the toughest competition a lot of those players will see up to that point. But they might play hundreds of basketball games before that even happens. And all those games are different data points that can be interesting, can tell the story, like everything from one individual game to more importantly, I would say, is kind of seeing that development from the early stages, seeing how they handle different situations, different roles, different teammates, how they respond in person. That's one of the benefits of being there in person, and seeing how they interact with the team and their teammates and all that. So, I think that aspect is underrated from the scouting perspective of everyone trying to just predict who should be a top 5 draft pick. The more you dig into it, the more you realize it's not just like 30 guys popping out of nowhere in
Mm.
college on the scene all at once, like they've been at this for years. So
Yeah.
getting to see them up close, in person on that timeline, on that development path is super important, I think, to the evaluation process for yourself. And then also, kind of communicating with other people in that same area about those experiences and then adding that up as it goes. So when you're scouting, when you're doing the process, whether it's in person at a camp or at a game, at a tournament, or just on a laptop, on a computer, watching film, breaking down film for a while, what are you looking for? And it could be, differences between those two situations, between film or in person, but more so just in general, when you're trying to target potential NBA draft picks or on a lesser scale, potential college players, like what are you looking for that makes you say like, oh, that guy's going to make it?
The biggest thing for me is college basketball is my favorite sport. It's been that way since I was little. So for me, the most important thing for me is fit. Fit is more important than the talent. You have a really talented kid. If he goes to the wrong school, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes, a school, he may not be as talented, but he goes to the right situation and he's fine. You see it all the time. There are several guys in the NBA. They're not super duper talented. They're good. Don't get me wrong. They're pros, right? But they don't jump high. They don't run fast, but they stick. Why? Because they picked the right school. They have a skill set that translates to the right, to the NBA. So for me, really just, if you can, I think we make basketball sometimes harder than what it is. If you can pass, dribble, and shoot, you're probably going to be okay. There's other variables in it too. Character, is he athletic, right? But some of the best players in the league, they don't jump very high. They're not very fast. Some of them are maybe even a little overweight, to be honest with you, but they're very good. So I think that we sometimes overcomplicate it. But if you can do those three things, I think you'll be fine. Or you'll at least be successful at some level. Now we get to the pro side. Can he make shots? Can he fit into a role? Most players, they're not NBA superstars. Just not. So there are several guys. There's no way he'll be an NBA player. Why? If he has a good size for position, he can shoot the ball, knows how to play, and he's productive at the college level, he definitely has a chance. I don't know if he'll stick every single time, but he definitely has the opportunity to get in the league and therefore maybe make some money.
Yeah, is really wild the more you learn about kind of the basketball evaluation process, team building process. A lot of guys just get labeled as bust right away.
Yeah.
And like you just said, situation might matter more than talent in certain cases, if not most cases. Like putting the LeBron Jameses on the side who just lift any franchise no matter what team they're on, especially at the pro level. Everyone else needs a lot of things to go right to really stick in the league and maximize their chances. Like you said, like you need the team to be invested in you as a player, to give you opportunity to define your role, to have that role match up with what your strengths are and your skill sets are. And if you don't get all of these things for a decent amount of period of time, you just might get moved on to the next wave where there's 60 new guys every year teams are bringing in, at least to try to see if they can fit all these things. Because like you said as well, the team and the situation and what the team is after, that fit matters a lot more than people realize in a player's success. And where a guy like might succeed with Miami, where it just won't look anything the same over, just pick any other team, the Clippers or the Lakers. They're just different cultures. They're different. They're looking for different things from a roster standpoint, from a mindset standpoint, and that goes down the line to every team. So it's definitely interesting and underrated, I would say, with how much situation matters and where talent really, I mean, I just ballparking off the top of my head, this isn't like an equation, but like talent might be only 20, 30, 40% of a guy's success at that level.
I mean, you even look at like Brandon Podzemisky, he's a top 80 recruit, whatever he was. He goes to Illinois, he doesn't play at all. Didn't play. He goes to Santa Clara. This dude starts games in the NBA. He's going to make a lot of money playing in the NBA, and there's nothing, and he's really good. There's nothing substantial about his overall athletic ability, but he knows how to play. He makes shots. He can really pass the ball. He has skills that translate to the next level. So, and I think what this thing is, too, from a kid perspective or a prospect is just self-awareness. He was super self-aware. Look, man, I'm probably not a Big Ten guy. That's just what it is. I'm probably not. I shouldn't come back to Illinois or try to move around and go to some other Big Ten school or whatever. Let me go down a level where I can play. and we'll see. He goes down a level, he's an NBA player. So I think self-awareness is a really, really big thing. And that also just goes into the fit. You have to be aware of what you are at this moment. It doesn't mean you can't be good. You just may have to go down, especially as a high school kid. Transfer portal changed everything. They're not really recruiting high school kids like that anymore unless you're like a top 40, 50 kid. So some of you're probably going to have to go down. What's the Fleming, Rasheer Fleming kid from St. Joe's? He's gonna be a pro. He might be a first round draft pick. No one was talking about that kid 3 years ago. Nobody was talking about him. And he played, I believe, with DJ Wagner at Camden, I believe. So no one was talking about that kid. Now he's going to be a first-round draft pick.
Exactly. I mean, I think it was Rick Pitino maybe that you might be commenting about. Like he just had comments just like that about the recruiting. I think I read them today or yesterday, how they're just not even looking at high school talent necessarily to recruit for the upper-end colleges, because now they can just pull from other colleges that, some guy breaks out in a big game against, Duke or something, and Duke sees him, and now they're like, well, now that guy's on our radar. Right. So it's almost like, developmental leagues within the college system almost being built in that manner. And, I totally agree with what you were saying earlier. And just, it could be overcomplicated, the game sometimes. And like, if guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot and make good decisions with the ball, they can defend their own position, defend a few other positions well. Like that combination of like height and good decision making, quick processing. Like I think a lot of guys can carve out NBA roles outside of the superstar role that, there might be one or two superstars, but the team is full of another 10 guys that are just trying to fill out the rotation and start or be a part of a lineup. And those guys just have to play like classic Spurs basketball from like the 2014s, where like you dribble, pass, and shoot and defend. You can play in a rotation. Like your holes are minimized for the most part if you can do all those things, or at least a combination that provides value in a role. Where to me it boils down to like, are you positive on offense and defense? Do you bring positive impact to both ends and fill some myriad of roles where we can fill out a starting lineup around those roles? So, super, super interesting to dive into that. And, so I thought we might hit in on the 2025 draft coming up and some of the college basketball that you've been watching lately, and, been catching these huge, we finally got like conferences going against each other now. So some fun matchups. The SEC is just insane matchups down the line, up and down the line. So between, all the games you're watching now and the draft coming up, I was wondering if there's, we can hit on some of the top guys as well if you really love anyone in this draft that you want to praise about. But are there any like sleepers maybe that aren't being talked about, maybe that should be a lottery pick, say, that are falling into the 20s or 30s right now?
Well, the Rasheer Fleming kid, I just really like that kid. I just think he's just a modern, what a NBA 4-man is today. He's versatile. He can score, rebounds, plays hard, he can shoot threes. I just think that he's a player that he's a modern day NBA 4-man. I think he can guard multiple positions. We saw him play very well against my alumni at Texas Tech. He was destroying us, but I think he's very good. I think they have him going in the mid-20s or so. Who, if a playoff team gets that kid, that may be one of the bigger sleepers of the draft if he ends up falling, to that particular level. I think he's very good. Danny Wolf is another one. I know he starting off
That's
the
year.
That's my guy. He really wasn't. I really didn't see him on boards like that, and if I did, it was like late second round, like 60. That dude's very good.
Man.
He's good size. He knows how to play. Can really pass the ball. He checks off a lot of boxes. Yeah, he may not be aesthetically the most pleasing, but he's good. He's very, very good. And if I were a team, I'd draft him for sure in the first round.
I mean, don't get me started on Danny Wolf, man. I'm not gonna pretend like I was early on him. Like he was not on my radar, and then I caught him like some highlights. I was like, okay, that's a fun player. And then I actually like watched a full Michigan game. I was like, this guy has processed the offense and made a quick pass every time down the floor. And like I've caught some of the good and the bad. Like there's a handful of games where maybe he'll disappear and you don't really feel him as much, and he might not bring it defensively as much, even if the effort is there at times. But man, when he's cooking offensively, like it to me, I'm trying not to overstate it, because I was so impressed by his ability to just read the offense, run a pick and roll, score. hit the roll man, hit the corner, hit just
Yeah.
like I think that specific pick and roll offense will translate directly to the league.
Yeah.
It's will everything else in his game.
And I think too he's unique, right? There aren't many bigs that do that at any level, high school, college, or NBA level. You know, there's one. He's arguably maybe going to be one of the best centers we've ever seen. Not comparing him to him, but there just aren't many bigs in the NBA that can do those things. So when you see it, you know, we probably can make this work. You know, you got to have the right people around him. He has to work hard, do all those necessarily things, but he looks the part definitely from a skill point standpoint. I think that he'll be fine.
Yeah, man. I mean, I can't say enough nice things about Danny Wolf. I'm almost too high on him, honestly. Like I'm not ashamed to say that I literally moved him up from like 25 into my top 5 because of that potential that we've talked about. So like I'm glad you brought him up. Will I possibly lower him back towards where consensus is? It's possible. But we're talking about NBA draft potential and like potential superstars at the top of the draft. And that, like you said, that his combination of skill at that size is just super rare. Like outside of Jokic, I really don't know how many 7-footers are making those passes.
Right.
And like there's other 7-footers that are skilled, obviously, in different ways. Like you got Embiid hitting mid-range pull-ups like he's a 2 guard, and you've got Sabonis and Sengun running all these handoffs and, you know, being something of a playmaking creation hub. Even Bam in that sense down low and as like, you know, hubs. But like this passing is different. Like that's a offense. That's a potential for an offensive creator, pick and roll ball handler at 7 foot at the next level that can make any pass because he can see over the defense. So, you know, I think that's a skill set that translates directly, and like that's star upside. Even if like you still have to weigh all those other factors of, you know, will the rest of it be enough to kind of hit the low bar of like staying on the floor as a defender at the next level? Will he shoot or score consistently? Will he create all this offense consistently? And, you know, I think the upside between the scoring, shooting touch, and that insane passing vision and pretty solid handle to create all those looks and dump offs, like I think that is kind of a gamble worth taking in this draft. But, you know, I also don't think every draft pick is a gamble, but like, so that's a type of talent where it seems worth it to be looking. So I'm glad you mentioned him. And yeah, I mean, who was it? Fleming, and then also Johni Broome. I kind of looked at in that kind of sense where, you know, he's not. It's not like he's unknown. He's National Player of the Year candidate. But I kind of looked at him kind of like Fleming in the way that you said, like just a good basketball player, can kind of like hit the catch and shoot 3, move the ball, run the floor, and just kind of be that like you said, like a stretch 4 power forward type that can be a solid defender, play team first basketball.
Do you remember Kyle O'Quinn? You remember him?
Orlando Magic legend.
Yeah, he Broome really reminds me of him. They're similar.
Okay.
I think they have like a similar game. I don't know how long Kyle O'Quinn played. He probably was in the league maybe like 9 years or so. But they're similar. Big body, wide, but they had a skill set. You know, I think he could kind of be that type of player. And I think Broome. I mean, not Broome. Quinn, I think he was like a 2nd-round pick. Yeah, I think he's like 50 or something like that, 49. So I could see Broome. He's having a phenomenal season. He could fit that type of role. I think so.
Yeah, I think especially with, you know, how well he's played this year, we could even see a late March Madness run like really push his stock up because of how good that Auburn team is, combined with the award itself, even though I think Flag will probably end up taking it. But, you know, you know, you get a little bit of that hype from the award or a big run, and he could jump from the 40th range to 20th range, just like off a good stretch like that. So that is where I think like just kind of being aware of all the sample before the college that we touched on earlier is so important, where it's like, all right, this guy was insane for 5 games in March Madness. Should he now be picked 20 games higher because of that? Or is he just having a good stretch and that should work in his favor, but maybe not change our entire minds around who he is because he did it on the big stage versus this is who he's always been for all the games going into that. So yeah, I mean, those are some fun sleepers, and I've said on the pod a bunch. I'm a big Asa Newell guy. I have him top 5 as well at the
Yeah, I like him
moment. Yeah. So what do you like about him? I'm sure the listeners kind of already know. I like his defensive versatility, that quick second jump, that offensive rebound, little post up footwork, hook shot, touch, and enough of a 3-point shot to think there can be some closeout attacking down the line. Like I don't think he'll be a non-shooter from deep at the next level.
I like him. He's just one of those players where I think you can pick him up and put him in any system and he'll be fine. Like if he didn't go to Georgia, he went somewhere else, he'd be good. And if he didn't go there, he'd be good wherever. I think you can just he's a plug and play guy. I think you can just put him anywhere and he'll find some way to impact the game. You know, like you said, the quick jump, he's long, versatile. He can score. I think that he can be, you know, especially with those DHOs, I think he could be kind of a unique option at the next level, especially if the point guard is pretty good. They'll be playing alongside him. But I like him. He's young too. I think too, he's just a worker, man. You know, he should have been a McDonald's All-American. You know, due to that stupid rule where you only can have X amount of players from one school make it, he should have been a McDonald's All-American. But you know, nevertheless, he stuck with it. He kept working, and this guy, he should be a lottery pick. I think he should be a top 10 pick. Um, we've seen today with Wemby, he's hopefully he's okay with the blood clots, but I think I would love to see the Spurs get him. If I don't know what they'll pick. You know, we have time until then, but assuming they're picking high enough, I would love to see the Spurs get him. I think he would be an ideal fit next to Wemby down there at the 4th spot.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Definitely, sucks to see that about Wembanyama. Heart goes out to him. Hopefully he gets full, quick recovery. We don't never want to mess around with blood clots and stuff like that. So that definitely stinks. And in terms of the draft, yeah, for sure. I mean, Asa Newell fits right in as a kind of a 4 with them. Can handle some of the offensive rebounds, like we said, hit the glass a little bit, while Wemby's doing more of the shot blocking and kind of stretching the floor a little more probably. And just like you said before, he slides into just about any team and plays winning basketball, does the role player things well that any team wants, and then brings a little bit of like closeout attacking versatility where he could flash that 3, he could drive, he could counter with a little post up footwork down low and hit you with that little post work, like left drop step hook that he loves. So that it's nice to have options there and counter moves. So another guy that you were really high on before the season, and I think has earned top 10 status, is Collin Boyles. Like he's just tough out here. He's one of the toughest defenders in this class, and one of the like highest instincts and really great hands, like active hands, strong hands that always seem to find the ball. What do you like about Murray Boyles in this upcoming draft?
He's another one. We were talking earlier. Aesthetically, he's not really, there's nothing super that stands. He's 6'7", maybe 6'8" at the tall. I don't even think he's 6'8". He just knows how to play. And I remember watching him in high school at Wasatch. I was like, this kid's pretty good. I said, how did South Carolina even get this kid? Like, I think he's a sleeper. And I wrote about him last year on my top freshman list at the Athletic. I wrote about him. I think he's going to have a breakout season, and he did. So, but to answer your question, I just think that he's efficient. He's efficient, knows how to play. He's versatile. In the NBA, they're typically kind of playing smaller guys at the 4 anyway for defensive purposes and just versatility. I think he fits that perfectly. Yeah, he doesn't shoot threes the best, but he's capable and he can work on that in time. But what he does do offensively is offensive versatility, and he's able to be efficient. He knows how to play and can make plays. I think that he fits. I think that he definitely fits. And then for him to be not super duper athletic, he gets a lot of steals. He averages like over a steal and a half a game, something like that. So he has quick hands, and he has to be able to process defensively and jump lanes. So I do think that he won't be like a negative player defensively. So
yeah, he's a really interesting athlete for kind of that size and makeup, I guess, because like he'll be like explosive from the perimeter with the ball in his hand and have a pretty good handle. But like you don't necessarily, I guess, like explosive first step, I should say. He might not like throw down a crazy hammer dunk, but
he's
like
nimble.
Like agile, those fun movement mobility words like that. That's what he has them all, and like the active hands and the instincts, like we can't underrate enough. Like he could wind up the best defender, or at least one of the best defenders. Obviously, flags at the top of the draft, but he really could be like special instincts, like use his body really well to just kind of like contain opponents, use those hands really well to break up passes, force steals, and then has a nice little finishing game, able to like take a handoff and attack the rack like against Johni Broome. Like he took him, won that matchup pretty handily back then, but that was just a one-on-one. But
and I think too, when you this is a very basic answer, but I think you'll understand. Some of those kids, like if you've been slow your whole life, you know how to play slow. So I think that some of these players, they're not the most athletic, they're not the most whatever they are. They've been that way their whole life. So they've had to adjust, take proper angles, do this a certain way to be able to be effective. He is he's been that size pretty much his whole life. He's never been some mega athlete. And same with Danny Wolf, he's never been that. So that doesn't mean they can't play Jokic. He can't. He doesn't jump very high, but he knows how to take angles. He knows so they have to be super cerebral, and I think that's what helps all those guys in that particular round. They just so where I may lack in this area, I excel in this, and they're able to make that thing work for them.
Right. I mean, I honestly, like we've been saying, like obviously there's a prerequisite of like height, like 6'2" is a pretty standard prereq for making the NBA. But like if you have the height, you have the basic measurables, and you're a quick processing, high instinct decision maker who knows the game really well, like that can take you really far, especially if you've developed all these skills we've talked about. Like we've hit on a few times, like there are a lot of stars and good players in this league and just playing pro ball around the world that are not necessarily like passing all the standard athlete tests. Like there's different levels of athleticism. There's just different kinds of athleticism, and like being able to run fast and jump high will help you in certain aspects of sports, but that doesn't define all of the athleticism that's going on out there. And there's just different ways to measure it and think about it. And I think being able to like use those instincts to read and react can be just as important of an athletic trait as it is the amount of bench presses that you did that day as well. Like Kevin Durant isn't beating anybody in a bench in the bench press. He might not even get it up, but he'll be the best hooper on any court he walks out to. So like it just kind of depends on that situation. So just to hit on a few other sleepers, I know you were also really high on Miles Byrd before the draft or before the season as well, and I've caught him a couple times now where he's jumped into like the back end of the lottery for me, like top 20 basically. So he's a guy that can hit tough shots off the dribble, can dribble, pass, and shoot, like we've said, can run a little offense, can hold his own defensively, and he's kind of either a big guard or big wing type, able to do all that. So what do you like about him as a draft prospect? What have you seen?
I think he could be. We all love the 3-and-D guys. I think that's what he can be. His percentage isn't. It's okay. I think it's like 33%, but his projected NBA percentage, I think, will be fine. He can guard, and I think too, for me, in an era of the transfer portal, he stayed. He didn't leave. He worked hard. He battled some injuries here and there, but he just stayed. And he got better every year. And now he's going to be rewarded. I think he should be a first-round draft pick. So I think that he could be that plus-size 3-and-D type of player. And then the NBA loves those guys. You can never have enough of them on your team. I think that he'll be able to slot into a role just like that.
Yeah, and I think even beyond like how we all used to think of 3-and-D as well is his two-way impact, just being able to dribble and pass as well. And just like the idea that he won't be stuck in a corner, won't be able to, like the ball is just going to get stuck there every time it comes to him. Like he's someone that can play team first ball, that can initiate a little bit, move the ball, make the right read, hit the open shot, but can also put the ball on the floor, dribble drive a little bit, break down the defense, and keep the ball moving that way. So just, impressive on the ball. And trying to think of some other sleepers that, might be a little lower than consensus. I was really impressed by Tahaad Pettiford, Broome's teammate at Auburn. I mean, he's explosive. I don't know if he'll end up coming out in this draft cycle because of kind of his draft status. Like he might be able to go a little higher if he stays, but I think he's, I've got him in my top 20 at the moment. And I think he's, really just impressed all around, like everything I want to see, like explosive guard, defensive instincts, can dribble, pass, and shoot, can score a little bit, can like really has that downhill first step burst, explosiveness to the rim that I like to see out of guards as well. And I think he can finish. And, I got to see more, and we'll see if the usage, kind of how how him as a number one option, if he does stay after Broome leaves, like
Yeah.
how that will kind of look with more reps and more usage, that, that's his opportunity to earn a higher pick. It could kind of go either way, but it's probably better draft wise for his own stock to stay that way rather than take a gamble on this year. So, is anything jump out to you?
And he's a kid. We talk about fit. He picked the absolute perfect school for him. Auburn, they love small guards. I think Jared Harper a couple years ago, Sharif Cooper, now him. No one, maybe outside of maybe Baylor, no one does better with shorter guards than Auburn does. And he picked the perfect school. They have good players around him, of course, but he just fits. And then he's another one, he didn't really play that much at McDonald's. He had like a back injury or something. I was there, but he's just a gamer. He's one of those players you just put him on the court. He's just a basketball player. You put him on the court with whoever, he's gonna make those teams better. One more that I like is Yaxel Landenborg from UAB. That dude, he's just an animal. Like, he's so good defensively, rebounds, offensively, defensively. I think he averages like over a steal and a half a game and almost 2 blocks. He shoots threes, 34% from three. He's a very interesting player, and he's similar to Daniel Gafford. He's probably does a little bit more. He can shoot threes, so Daniel doesn't do that. But he kind of has that type of role. Like, he comes off the bench, he just messes up everything else. He guards your best perimeter player, and their life sucks for the day. That's just kind of what he is. And I love Yaxel Landenborg. I know they have him probably in like the 50s. I would for sure draft that dude because he's just a player. Like, I feel like he's gonna make someone's team. You just throw him on the floor, Yaxel just mess up everything, get every rebound you can. He's going to do exactly that.
No doubt. That's a great shout for this conversation, because some of my friends in the scouting world have shouted him out, and I finally got to see him play, and like just that energy jumps right out. Like, he'll have sequences where he'll make a small mistake and then turn around and chase down the guy for a chase down block and swat it off the backboard. It's just
I love that dude. I watch UAB obviously specifically for just his energy. It's contagious, and he gets the other guys to play hard as well. So you need guys like that in your locker room. He's probably going to be a low maintenance guy. He's not going to demand a ton. He just wants to work hard and just play. And you can just throw him on the floor, and he's going to be productive somehow, some way.
Right. It's like having the tough guy back in the day, but you don't need him to like protect your superstar. You just need him to get everyone's energy at maximum levels. Like, no, we're all matching this level of just energetic, just everywhere. Just a lot of intensity, like that kind of like a rim roller, rim protector, good ball instincts, can force turnovers, and like you said, can flash that 3-point shot a little. So, that's real interesting guy. He's top 40 for me at the moment. So I love that shout as a sleeper. Was there any other guys that have caught your eye that, maybe should get drafted or that might not, or any type of sleepers sitting around we haven't hit on?
One, Jalen Lowe at Pittsburgh. I love Jalen. Been watching him since he was real little. They're not winning as a team like I want them to, but he's good. I know he hasn't shot the free ball the best. He had a little injury on his finger. I think he broke it earlier in the year, so he was dealing with that most of the year. But you're talking about cerebral guard. He really knows how to play. One of the better assist guys in the ACC, can score. I like him. And, I think this point guard class, you have some that are very good, obviously, Dylan Harper, etc. But some of them, I don't know if they kind of popped the way that they thought. So this may be a guy that if I were a team, I would take a look at him. He could come off the bench and be a Tyus Jones type of player. He doesn't have to be, the guy that starts to run your team. But I think Jalen, he's smart enough, can score enough, he's savvy enough, especially coming out of the pick and roll, that there's a role for him to stick in the NBA. And I think that he could be a Tyus Jones caliber type of player. And Tyus Jones, everyone loves Tyus Jones. I mean, he's everyone's favorite. If you need a point guard for a year, go get Tyus Jones. Y'all are going to be fine. Whether he starts or he's a backup. And I think Jalen can definitely do those things. The 3-point shooting will get better. He has to just stay healthy. But, I mean, he's productive. He's one of the best guards in the ACC. He gets things done. So I like him a lot. And also JoJo Tugler at U of H. He's another just destroyer. You throw him on the floor, he's the toughest guy, blocking shots, long arms. Trying to flash that 3-ball a little bit. They don't let him shoot it a ton, but he is capable of making them. But he's just a good 4-man. Just destroys everything, rebounds, block shot, and he's the toughest guy on the floor. So those two, Jalen and JoJo, I like both of them. And ironically, they were They were teammates on the Houston Hoops a couple years ago that made it to the Final Four at the Peach Jam.
There you go. That is funny. And yeah, I don't have a ton to add on them, but I know Tugler can be, a big rim protector, defensive anchor type for Houston, like you mentioned, and just an insane wingspan. And then, from what I've seen on Lowe, like has a high free throw percentage and good assist to turnover ratio, some decent signs for that comp that you're making with a Tyus Jones and all that. He is the guy that every team that doesn't have a point guard is just like, just please bring us Tyus for a year. Just, I know Magic fans have been like begging for him, and he's like, no offense, he's like a rotation point guard, like he's a backup point guard probably,
he's
but
very
like
good, very good, one of the better backups in the
like
league.
the ideal backup, maybe not advantage creative enough to really start on a champion, but like would love to have him around to run some offense. Like it's better than a lot of other options. Like, and he has, credit to him, I think led the NBA in assist to turnover ratio for like 8 years running, or at least been top 2 for the past like 7 or 8 years. So, shout out to Tyus Jones.
And with Jalen and Tugler, I don't think either of them are tested. So maybe they test, get feedback, and just come back as juniors, right? That may just be the best option for them. But I do think both those guys will play in the NBA at some point.
Yeah, can definitely see it. Especially Tugler. I think that defense alone and the rim protection will should get him drafted, especially as like that with that length, those instincts like that should get the guy drafted for sure in that sense. And yeah, I mean, are there any other prospects that don't necessarily have to be sleepers, but you really love in this class that you think should be highly? Obviously, all these guys are going to be top picks, but is there any guys that you like really stand out to you, say that are projected in the lottery or first round that you really think a team should, like, this is the guy that team should be going after say Flagg and Dylan Harper are probably off the board top 2? Is there another guy that jumps out to you that's like, if I have the 3rd or 4th pick and not much going on roster construction wise, this is maybe a guy I should look at for highest potential or best basketball player, depending kind of what your process is?
So I really like Jeremiah Fears. I think I've been telling people on Twitter, he's kind of an anomaly in a way. When you reclassify up, you're not supposed to be that good immediately. Like he went from EYBL basketball to playing in the SEC, and he's been very, very good. That is super rare. Even over the last 20, 30 years, we haven't seen many be able to be this productive so quickly. So I do definitely like what he brings to the table. Big guard. I think he's like 6'4", really scores tough, makes the right decisions. And, he's a guy he's going to get drafted higher, probably 12, 13-ish, but he's young, so there's going to be a learning curve. But he's young enough to where you can put him in your system and he'll learn over time. There's no need for him to come in and just take over the franchise. Kon Knueppel, I've been a big Kon Knueppel fan since he was a junior. I love Kon. I almost was kind of not disappointed in the sense, but they kind of blew him up very quickly. I wanted him to kind of gradually get there. When I saw him at the EYBL his last year, or his second to last year, I think he led the regular season EYBL in scoring. I was like, who is this pudgy kid that no one can guard? Like, I was like, he was just destroying kids. Like, I said, who is he? I literally followed him the entire week. I didn't want to watch anyone else but Kon. And I was like, I think he can be a pro. He's kind of, weirdly shaped and doesn't really jump high, but man, he can play. He really, really can shoot it, as we see at Duke. He knows how to play, smart kid, and he's a worker. So I'm really a big fan of Kon. I think he's a kid, you're 6'7" and can shoot. You can fit pretty much anywhere. And I really, really am a big fan. Mom was a very good basketball player too. I think she's like one of the all-time leading scorers at her wherever she's from. So like those two a lot. And then Liam, he's been hurt a good amount of the time, but Liam's a Dallas kid, and I've been watching Liam since he was a freshman. Liam's very good. 6'8", really can shoot it. Could be definitely a secondary creator, secondary ball handler for sure. So those 3 guys, I'm major fans of those 3, and I think people should be talking about them more if they're not talking about them enough.
Yeah, definitely. Like for easy first round talents this year, and some will have them mocked. Maybe all in the lottery, all 3. I mean, it's possible. Like I could see them all end up in the lottery, and Fears has jumped up to, I want to say, as high as like top 5, top 10 at different points. Like, but maybe the draft cycle fluctuates a little bit, but all impressive talents. To hit on them quickly, like Jeremiah Fears, that first step burst just jumps out to me. Like
Yeah.
he can get by anybody, and he can get to the rack and finish and run some offense. He can shoot when on the ball or off the ball. So like there's a lot to like, especially offensively with kind of that talent. Do you have any thoughts on all three of them really as defenders? Like how do you think all three of those guys hold up as on the defensive end of the floor? Because I would argue I really like the offensive side for all
Yeah.
three of them a lot. Like I think all three of them clearly have some developable skills, ball skills
Yeah.
that will translate to the next level. They can all shoot in different
Yeah.
varieties and obviously bring different things to the game. But as defenders, do you think all three of them like show enough tools to kind of, let's say, be starting level players, or is it more like because of those offensive gifts, they might end up backups, but still long-term
Yeah.
careers at the next level?
Defense, they're definitely going to have to work on. I mean, the biggest thing with defense to me is really effort and length. One, you got to just try. I think that's the biggest thing at any level, high school, college, and pro. They just don't try. So, of course, if you don't give effort, you're going to get blown by. And there's other things, length, athletic ability, reaction time, etc. But I think they're willing. And Liam, I know those three, they're all hard workers. I think they want to be better defenders. So I think that they will be able to just be decent. Yeah, they're not going to be stoppers. Definitely not. But I think, and especially Khan's uniquely shaped, so he's kind of strong. So, some of those dudes, they're not going to be able to just muscle him out the way. So I think that his strength alone will be able to kind of be able to help him. He's going to foul, things like that. But I think that he'll be able to kind of use some of his strength as a way to help him. But, NBA, no one's really guarding anybody. They're shooting 53s a game. Unfortunately, I don't like it, but that's just how they play now. So some of that too, they're probably going to hunt him. I mean, that's just what it is. They're gonna, it's one of those things you're gonna learn by fire, right? You're gonna get hunted. Every game they kind of know they're coming after me, and you're gonna have to just guard. You're gonna have to literally put in some effort and try your best. But I think they have some tools that'll definitely be able to help them. But it'll be a long road for them to get better at that, though.
Yeah, understandable. And yeah, all good points on especially that effort side of things. You would think the bare minimum, but it's not always there, and that's why guys that go all out with their effort really move up the board. Like, excuse me, we're talking about Yaxel Landenborg. Like, he's not where he is without effort. He's all effort all the time, and so like you're drafting that kind of like mentality when you draft that player versus maybe focus on some more offensive talent. And yeah, I mean, just to hit on him a little bit, I mean, I already talked on Fears, and like that handle is really impressive too. Like I still have him in the lottery as well. And looking at Knueppel, like he's shown a lot of good ball skills. You mentioned the shooting. The shooting is obvious for McNeeley and Knueppel. They're both like snipers from deep, but with Knueppel, I've seen like the ability to kind of, I guess, create some advantages and also make good decisions with the ball as well is where I'm getting at. And then McNeeley really stands out for like just the ultimate like closeout attacker guy, where like Malik Monk running around a screen for a 3-pointer, or he might throw down a hammer, slam on you, attack the closeout that way. And like his athleticism popped. And like he was, I saw Liam McNeeley live a few times, is what I'm talking about, back in high school at like Mount Byrd a few times. And like if he wasn't like hitting a catch and shoot or running around a screen for a 3, he was attacking a closeout, like trying to just posterize whoever was in front of him. He was the one that ended up being the leading scorer in a lot of those high school marquee matchup games featuring a Cooper Flagg or a Boozer or DeBonsa. It would end up being McNeeley with like 25 points and an MVP trophy or something. And obviously part of that is playing with these other great players and getting better looks. But he's the one that knocked down the shot, so he scored the points. So, he's someone that definitely, I just think, especially McNeeley has a clear role. Really, all of them have a special offensive talent. Like I think they're all first-round picks, potential lottery picks. Fears will probably go the highest of the 3, and possibly as high as 5, though his stock has cooled a little bit from that end, so maybe later in the lottery. But, definitely think these are offensive players worth taking a swing on. because there's a lot of talent there as shooters and ball handles and all that. And I don't know if too many. Obviously, there's a ton of guys we could hit on. I like Otega Owe with
Yep,
Kentucky a little more than consensus. He's like a first round grade for me at the moment compared to maybe not for most people, but I just think he brings some basic things we've been talking about. Like he makes a lot of smart read defensive plays with his instincts, forces a lot of turnovers. The games I've caught, he's been a really effective handoff guy. Like I've really liked what I've seen off DHOs for him, hitting threes and attacking closeouts, and just a guy that makes winning plays a lot every time I watch him play. Like he'll just rack up like 10 like deflections that lead to a steal and a layup, or just smart plays here and there saving the ball. So just give him take a shout on this sleeper list. And if you don't have any other sleepers in mind, I thought we could maybe hit on some of your Houston connections and Houston basketball. Just like what the state of Houston basketball, like where is it at in your eyes? You mentioned they haven't had a McDonald's All-American in how long?
Yeah, I think so. The last McDonald's All-American Houston has had was Quinn Grimes. It was Jared Vanderbilt, then Quinn Grimes the following year. So I don't remember what high school class they were, 16, 17, something like that, maybe 18. Yeah. So it's been a little while. And then this year was the first time the state of Texas hasn't had a McDonald's All-American since 1999. So I thought that was unacceptable. I definitely thought Kingston Fleming should have got in. I thought that he was a lock in my eyes. I mean, I don't know what else you have to do to get a McDonald's All-American nod, but he'll be better because of. I think he'll go to U of H. He'll be a phenomenal player, and he'll play in the NBA one day as well. So,
yeah, he was the big snub for me as well, and I believe Kayden Lewis was the other guy that was a snub in my mind for that list. I think he's as good as some of those players, but Fleming's, walking bucket, can one of those scoring creator types, can run an offense, smart player. Super excited to see that pairing with Chris Senack at Houston next year. I think that they could really like kind of help each other and help each other's stock rise by, when the team is good, when their pairing is good, they complement each other in good ways. And they have a lot of talent at that school. So that'll be a super fun program next year.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him. But to answer your question, I mean, Houston's fine. I mean, Shelton Henderson is going to Duke. Sebastian Williams-Adams going to Auburn. Nigel Walls, SMU. We have a Christian Gibson. He was second or third in EYBL in scoring on the 16U. He's also out here as well. But I don't know, man. I mean, Houston, the last couple of years, is just it's definitely gone down. For me, in my opinion, as a city, I mean, Houston. When I was in high school, my district alone, you had the Harrison twins was in that district, Kelly Oubre, Cameron Ridley, Chandre Jones, Daniel House was in that district. You don't see that anymore. D'Angelo Harrison, he averaged 17 points a game 4 years in a row at St. John. You're not seeing that anymore. We do have talented players, all across the city, but the city's okay. I mean, it's okay. It's definitely down from what it's been, and it's definitely down, in my opinion, from Dallas. I mean, 3 years ago, Dallas had 5 McDonald's All-Americans in the same class. So I'm ready to get back to those days.
No doubt. And I mean, those are some real talent there. I caught Flemings and Sebastian Williams-Adams at the NBPA Top 100 camp. They were both rated top 5 in overall impact via Cerebro's metric CRAM. And Sebastian was top 10 at the rim, top 20 in defense. Flemings was top 30 or 33rd, I guess, tied for 33rd in defense as well. But they were, 2 of the top 5 most productive players at that camp. And Sebastian really impressed with like sound footwork fundamentals and kind of just Euro stepping through the paint.
At the 4. Army Swift knife at the 4. He's going to be good at Auburn. Auburn, they do very well with short guards, and they do very well with 4s. He'll be another very good one there as well.
That's a very true statement. And they got Caden Magwood next year with him too. So that could be a fun pairing of some talent as well. And Magwood just he gets buckets. He can score any shot any time. But yeah, so And, beyond Texas, I also, or not beyond Texas, but within Texas, I caught Duncanville play the other day. They were down here on my side of town, or turf here in Orlando. And I caught like just an absolute heavyweight fight is how I put it. Oak Ridge versus Duncanville. We had Kayden Edwards and Jameer Jones trade 40 points apiece against each other in a game that went to double overtime, if I remember right. Like yeah, I don't know if it ever ended, honestly, but Jameer Jones was just everywhere, dropped 41 points, 11 boards, and then Kayden Edwards was dropping buckets right back at him with 45 points of his own after having 30 the day before. And just wanted your thoughts on Duncanville and their prospects between everyone on their team, really. But we can dive into them. But who do you like on their roster going forward?
Coach Peavy's done a great job. I mean, he's one of the best coaches in the state, one of the best coaches in the country. I mean, his resume of putting guys in school, state championships, how he teaches the game, just phenomenal coach. But Kayden is always going to talk about him. He's going to TCU. He has a chance to be, I think, one of the better scorers in their league. He really, really can score the ball, can shoot the ball from deep. But what I like about him is he could be a kid where he can go to the free throw line a lot, I think, at the next level. Conditioning is going to play a role into that. But if he's like super conditioned the way I think he will be, he's a kid I could see him going to the free throw line 5, 6, 7 times a game because he's always in attack mode. He's kind of slithery out of the pick and roll. You see it at AAU too. Sometimes he'll go to the free throw line double digits pretty often. So I think that he could be a guard like that. Beckham Black, which is, Anthony Black's little brother, Lando guy. Very good. I mean, he gets better every time I see him. Just really, really cerebral, smart kid. Just really knows how to play. He's going to be good for a very long time. You have Chris Hunt. He's also a 2027. He'll end up being probably a mid-major plus kid. I also like him as well. Super athletic. I think he's Duncanville's second leading scorer as well. I think he averages like 14 a game. So impressive with him. And then you have Cam Smith. Cam Smith is Tyler Smith's younger brother, an NBA player. I think he plays for the Bucks. He just committed to Cal State Fullerton, I think, last week. He was a late bloomer. Very, very proud of him. Go gadget arms, long, athletic. So he'll be a very, very good player. That's a very good gift for Cal State Fullerton for them to come in the state and get a player like that. So I think he'll be putting up big numbers over there as well.
Yeah, all good shouts. I would say I was drawn in, more so knew about Kayden Edwards and Beckham Black, and then I showed up, watched the game, and Cam Smith really popped. He was the one that probably made as many winning plays as anyone other than Kayden Edwards scoring every time he saw the basketball.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was just everywhere. Like I like the go gadget arms comparison there because that shot blocking, rim protection, quick second jump, great timing, defensive instincts with Cam Smith. Just really, popped out, made good teamwork plays, like hit the open three, grab and go handles, brought the ball up the floor, used the length effectively, active hands, deflections, good vision, kicking the ball out and keeping the ball movement. He had like 5 stocks and 3 deflections by my count. So basically like almost 10 forced turnovers in a way. Like we're racking them up, at least almost 10 like winning plays on the defensive end, you could say. And then Chris Hunt was out there balling as well. He was knockdown 3-point shooter, used some active hands for like digs on the perimeter, created a lot of steals that way and look ahead passer. And you could tell he might be more off the ball in this role for them, but he was killing it. I mean, he had 23 points, 4 steals in the game I caught, and he definitely kept popping out. I'd say those are the 2 guys that outside of Beckham and Kayden that, like you mentioned, like for good reason, they're good players that really play good ball. And it's funny watching Beckham Black. It's hard not to think of his brother and not to I try not to like biasly be like, all right, do I think he's as good as his brother at this, or am I just like double vision seeing something, like have some bias hitting me with it?
What I like about Beckham is we throw this word a lot, like a basketball junkie. That kid really, really loved it. Like I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. Like they'll play a game, his mom wants to go take him to go get food. He's like, Mom, I don't want food. I want to go watch. Like they'll win by like 30. He wants to watch the next game. He's over there taking notes, doing his own little thing just by himself. Everyone's gone, eating, whatever they're doing. He really, really wants to get better. He really wants to be an NBA player. And he works out. He's a super hard worker. He's disciplined. And it's very rare to see him be like that at such a young age. He was like that in the 8th grade. He's very just determined. And I love seeing it. You know, you don't see many 8th, 9th graders with that type of mentality. Yeah, his brother's a pro, but still, you don't see it. So I think he's going to be successful no matter what he does. So I think he has a chance to be really, really good. He's special, big time playmaker, and I'm love to see where his potential takes him.
Yeah, that's good to know about his work ethic and his mindset off the court, because like he shows everything we've said on it, like just good instincts and
Yeah.
not to compare directly to his brother, but the defensive instincts, like the mind for the game is there, like deflections, just making good plays. Like it was the rest of his teammates that got more of the scoring done, but like Beckham ran the show offensively. He was the point forward, point guard, or whatever. Only 6'2", so point guard. But yeah, only 8 points, but 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and just played that all around game. Like you felt him like every possession initiating, making good reads, looking for open man, and reading on the defensive end when to jump up for a deflection. Like just like he was guarding a guy, just pickpocketed him like right in his face, and then dribbled up the court and pulled up for 3. Like a really mean two-way sequence in that game. And he had another clutch pull-up 3 later in that game too. So a lot of cool stuff to see from Beckham, and wish him the best of luck. And we hit on Kayden, but yeah, he just a walking bucket out there. Explosive, really quick first step burst for Kayden Edwards there. He was just getting to the rim at will. There was a little bit of maybe a mismatch where like he was too fast for them and Jameer Jones was a little too big for them.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the trade-off a lot this game, where, you know, sometimes mismatches define games a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we still got a double overtime, barn burner based on these clashing styles, which is kind of always exciting to see. So definitely some exciting prospects on Duncanville out there. Just wanted to give them a shout, because I know we had probably both seen them in person by now. So, you know, cool to check in with them. And more generally speaking, was wondering are there any other players or events that maybe you've seen over the past few months that have stood out to you that could be coming up over the next few cycles, or anything as well on like what the recruitment side of all this is like, and the intel side of this entire world is like what is that lifestyle like, or what kind of advice do you have for anyone trying to kind of get into that world as well? So a little bit of a loaded question, but anything on your mind there between all that?
First couple prospects I wanted to just shout out was Jordan Sigmund. He's a 2026 guard at the Renaissance in Detroit. Very, very good player. I know he's hearing from some mid-majors, Old Dominion, Portland, a couple of others. But I know Michigan State, Michigan are watching them. Alabama's reached out. I think LSU also offered as well. Really, really like watching him play. He's going to be a very good point guard for years to come. Another one is Hudson Greer. He's down there by you in Montverde. Love Hudson. I think he's like, second in the EYBL Scholastic in threes. And he's actually, quiet as it's kept, he's having a very similar season statistically like Liam did last year. The numbers are very similar. And I think Hudson's going to play in the NBA one day. And when you look back at this class of 2025, I don't know if there's a kid in that class that picked a better school for him. Like, we're talking about fit. He's going to be unbelievable at Creighton. He's going to be very, very good over there. And I think he picked a phenomenal school. And I do think that one day he may have a chance to play in the NBA. I'm seeing on draft boards in the 20s. I think I could see it. Maybe not a year from now, but in the next 2-3 years, I could definitely see it. Another kid I really, really like. He's a sophomore at Montverde. His name is I think he plays for I think he's from like Illinois or something, but Howard Williams. He's a sophomore. He's like 6'8", just super versatile, long arms, tough. He's another one. I think he got a chance. Like a couple years from now, I don't know what he's ranked, but he's one I would definitely keep a lookout for on the EYBL this summer. Very good player. Howard Williams, 6'8", goes to Oak Hill.
Okay, so you said he's on Oak Hill?
Yeah, Oak Hill.
All right, I got you. And Hudson Greer was on Montverde, so I've got Hudson at least once now, but I guess a few times at the most recent tournament I was at. Their Montverde Invitational this year, and I think he was 6th at the Sunshine Classic the first time I went up, so I didn't catch him the first time, but he's a lights-out shooter. I mean, that three-point shot will definitely translate to Creighton for sure. Perfect match there, like you're talking about. And then Yeah, I mean, as long as it stays consistent, that's a NBA
Yeah.
level 3-point shot, and now
Mhm.
it's can you round out all
Yeah.
the other things we're talking about to become, a real rotation player at the next level,
Yeah.
just being able
Agreed.
to hold your own defensively, hit
Yeah.
the open shot, and maybe create a little, make good decisions with the ball, and maybe he fine tunes that
Yeah.
some sort of role like that.
I agree. Then you asked about what was the second question?
Yes, I hit you with a lot there. Just generally any type of advice to anyone trying to break into the basketball industry, and also maybe more specifically the recruitment type of lifestyle that you deal with, and just what's it like what is the process of trying to get intel on players, communicate with teams versus
Yeah.
players, like what goes into that process of trying to, like, maybe a team reaches out to you and asks about a guy,
Yeah.
or maybe you're reaching out to someone else. Like what goes into all that to the average fan that knows nothing about it?
I think for me, you got to just be present, right? Like you have to be in the gym. I know we can watch stuff online, but for me as an individual, I love being in the gym, getting eyes on props because it's just different when you're watching them with your own two eyes in person. It's just different. You get to see mannerisms, character, how they are, how they move, etc. So I think that's very important. Then too, the basketball world, it seems very big, but it's also very small at the same time. You go to events, you often see the same people over and over and over again. Just you go somewhere locally or nationally, you see the same people generally. So meet those people, shake the right hands, and also you should just be a good person no matter what. But you never know where people are going to end up. You just don't. I mean, 3 years ago, I wasn't. 3 years ago, I was, just a dude with the dream trying to do. I was working two jobs, working at Lowe's and in NBC Sports part time, working at FedEx right before that. So you never know where people will end up. No, 4 years ago, no one would have thought I would be working at a phenomenal company like the Athletics. So you always have to just kind of be aware of that. People, they may be the assistant coach here, but they may get a head coaching job at a bigger program, and they may be able to help you do something. So always shake the right hand, be intentional, have intentional conversations the most that you can, and just don't. I think the biggest thing is just don't give up. Sports is hard. Everyone wants to work in sports, especially basketball. Everyone wants to work in that lane. So just I wouldn't give up, and I wouldn't get down on yourself because you may not see success early on. Just keep going. I know that's just the cliche, but don't give up. Literally, don't give up because you don't know how close you are. You may not see it, but if you're being consistent, the ball is going to bounce into your court, and I truly do believe that. I'm a testament to that. I will always speak to my story. Just don't give up and just keep working hard, and then it's okay to say you don't know something. Like you said, if someone calls you, you may not know. You may not have seen. There's thousands of kids all over the country. You can't see them all. It's not possible. But if you don't know, you don't know. But it doesn't mean you can't find out. You can go find out. You can go watch that kid online. You can go to an event and go see where he's playing at. Most of them playing the same stuff anyway, especially in the spring or the summer. Just go. Go watch. And I think that while you're there, just go shake hands with those coaches, those scouts, those other scouts like myself, etc. We're all approachable. We're all good guys, I think, for the most part. So go in there and shake those hands and for me, I'm big on mentorship. I have a ton of mentors. I have so many mentors. I'm super big into that. I think everyone should have a mentor or two. So if you can get you one that's a good dude or a good person, let them invest in pouring you, and you don't know everything. Have people show you the game and how it was done, and you'll be better because of it.
My bad. Hey, some words of wisdom from Tobias as we bounce out of here. I appreciate it. That's all good advice. I'm going to take it to heart. I hope the listeners do. And I appreciate you hopping on to talk some basketball today. It's always fun checking in and talking hoops, man.
No, for sure. Yeah, thank you for having me on. This was a good show. One of my favorite shows I've been on so far the last several months. So thanks for having me on. And it's going to be a busy time, man. Transfer portal opens up. NCAA tournaments around the corner. 4 or 5 weeks or so. Well, the portal at least. But yeah, so I'll be busy. You'll be busy. I'm just excited for it, man. What a time to be a basketball guy right now.
No doubt. It's a great time for the sport. And just once again, appreciate you taking the time, man. Can't wait to do it. We'll have to do it again sometime.
No, for sure. Anytime.
You know it. Have a good one, Tobias. Learning Basketball is a Swiss Theory podcast hosted from beyond the arcade. Hey, that's me. You can find my work on Twitter, YouTube, Substack, and check out the team's writing at theswishtheory.com.